Hey, football fans, Brian Sweeney here, voice of the Women's Football Alliance National Championship game. And this week, we have a packed show talking about Week 3's Game of the Week when the DC Divas travel to the Boston Renegades. Now, Emery Hunt is off this week, but I have a special guest, Alex Westad. He is the road play-by-play broadcaster for the Minnesota Vixen. Alex, welcome to the show.
Hi, Brian. Thanks for having me to talk about one of the, again, premier matchups in the WFA, the Boston Renegades against the DC Divas. When people think about the WFA, that's the rivalry that they think of, and it's a really exciting game coming up this Saturday.
Now, before we look at this week's game, the WFA will be highlighting a player of the week each week this season, and week 1 was Grace Cooper of the Minnesota Vixen. After missing part of the 2019 season due to injury, Grace managed to make a full recovery during the canceled 2020 season. Against the Iowa Phoenix in week 1, she had 6 carries, including this 92-yard touchdown run. She finished the game averaging 27.8 yards a carry for a total of 167 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. Grace helped lead the Vixen to a 56-0 shutout win. Minnesota and I will meet again in week 4 in West Des Moines. I'm sure many of you have seen the documentary Born to Play about the Boston Renegades. Recently, I sat down with their head coach, John Johnson, and 2 of their players, Erin Truex and Stephanie Pascual.
All right, I am joined today with 3 of the Boston Renegades. I have head coach John Johnson, offensive line person Erin Truex, and wide receiver Stephanie Pascual. I want to thank the 3 of you for joining us this week.
Thank you for having us.
So one thing I've noticed right away is y'all like to score points. Stephanie, in 2019, you had the most receiving yards on your team with 458. And back in 2018, you had the most receiving touchdowns with 6. Not sure if you knew either of those stats. But this weekend, you guys have a game against the DC Divas. This is a team that you've seen 6 times over the last 2 seasons, and you have a 5-1 record against them. And one thing that really jumped out at me, and maybe you guys can kind of touch on this, is in 2018, out of those 3 games, you only outscored them by a total of 4 points in 3 games. But in 2019, when you went on your second championship run, you outscored them by 81 points in 3 games. What changed, and what do we have to look forward to this year when you play the Divas?
It was all the offensive line.
Yes.
So I think what happened, honestly, is if you look at 2018 and 2019, it was one more year with the same core group getting a chance to play together and having a lot of familiarity. I joke because I obviously am an offensive line position player, but I do think that there's a lot to be said for the ability to gel together and have a lot of the same players return and just build on familiarity and really work together as a unit. I think 2018 was magical. We obviously had some really tough losses, but 2019, I really feel like we hit our stride, and I don't think anyone could have stopped us just because of what we were building on that had started in 2018.
Yeah. And I think we have a motto on the Renegades, like every practice, we're getting 1% better. And every game, I mean, you can double, triple that, right? And so I think we have a lot of respect for the DC Divas, and we never take their games lightly. And so I think building from 2018 to 2019 with the same core group, we're always getting better. I mean, we're not the same team you're going to see that you see at the beginning of the season. We're going to continue to get better no matter what. At every practice. And I think we always say this, we're going against the best defense, the best offense in practice, and that's what makes us better. So that difference in points is us challenging each other off season, preseason, during the season. Every practice is getting ready for playoffs. I mean, that's just who we are.
You know, and you say you're getting better every game. I mean, in 2019, we went 10-0 and you averaged 61 points per game. You've already proven this year with your win over the Dark Angels that you have stepped it up with 62-0 as the score. So you're already increasing that. John, I mean, can you take credit for this offensive powerhouse at all?
No, listen, this is a player's game. It's really about the players and how well they work together. And Erin said it best. They're a couple of years in the same system, the same players playing within that system. The coaches coaching it up. We do a pretty good job of that. But it's really about the players. They do a great job of taking the information, applying it to the field. And then the other thing is we have, a 60 player team, and they are all ultra competitive. So like Stephanie was talking about, the 1% better deal is real. Like we go to practice and we are competing in practice. And having multiple practices a week, having that information, filming everything, making sure that the players are getting information outside of practice, all that stuff builds on itself. And then the players, because of their enthusiasm and their dedication, is why this thing has grown. It's steamrolled into something that's kind of, been hard for other teams to stop because of their hard work, their dedication to the sport. And then the biggest thing, and this started in 18 really, was their dedication to each other, right? And being a true team and what that means and all of that. So it's really about the players. The players have taken it to new heights, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Johnny, you're being humble. I think we have some of the best coaches, if not the best coaches. And I think that's where it starts. I think we are who we are because
thank you, Steph. And one of the big keys to this whole thing is Coach Crawford. That guy knows more about football than most people that I've ever known. And he is also funny as hell. He keeps it light. He's joking with everybody, and he is one of the most important pieces to everything that we do. That guy is phenomenal.
So Stephanie, you talked about, the coaches and John being humble and stuff. And as a wide receiver, you're dealing with, multiple coaches because you probably have an opportunity to talk with the quarterback's coach and obviously the wide receivers coach and the head coach. Do you develop relationships independently with each of them, or is it more of a family of coaches when they come to you and they, work on routes with you and things like that?
I say it's a little bit of both. And I think I personally love that happy medium. I think Vernon, he's always available. I'm texting him questions about film from the night before. And Andrew, who's the wide receiver coach, is amazing and actually played for Vernon. So I think he knows and understands Vernon's state of mind and the way that he thinks and works, which I think is only beneficial for us. Because I think if Vernon's not available, we're going straight to Coach Andrew and we're like, hey, what does this mean? He's like, and he always has an answer. And so I think it's definitely, the Boston Renegades is a family. That's the way we function. And I think the door is always open no matter what for anyone to ask questions. So, I have no complaints. I'm like, I don't know how these other organizations are run, but I think we have a pretty smooth operation over here.
Well, and I know I've said your name in the national championship on the broadcast, so I'm sure if you make it back to that stadium behind me there, it'll probably be said again for at least a touchdown or so. And then, Erin, now, how old is your daughter?
She will be 3 next month.
And how does she feel when she sees mom put on the helmet and go out there and push people around?
Well, she gets really mad because she doesn't get to play as well. She gets very upset about that. She has her own pair of football cleats. And when she knows I'm going to football every Tuesday and Thursday, she wants to go. And I usually have to bribe her with something to get her to stay home and not cry hysterically. But she gets really excited. She definitely, it's the family atmosphere that she loves. She comes to practices on the weekends with me and she just sits there on the sidelines and watches. And sometimes she's, strapped in a carrier and I have to do my stance with her. But again, I wouldn't have it any other way. It's just football is such a big part of my life. And she obviously is such a big part of my life. It's a really great atmosphere that I'm able to blend the two together.
And how many years have you been playing, Erin?
This will be my 5th season. So I actually found the Renegades maybe a week before the season started, my rookie year. And I filled out an interest form, and given my height and size, I think they got back to me within the hour. They're like, just show up. We'll give you a helmet. We'll put you on the field and just run around and we'll see what happens. And so, it's been great. I did take 1 year off when I was pregnant with Kira, but I can't even imagine not having.
I didn't miss a beat.
Absolutely not. And just to add a funny story. So she's number 88. And the story behind that was like, yeah, you're going to catch a lot of balls. Just come out to practice. Let's go. Let's do this. Yeah, give her 88. You're going to be a tight end. And then, no, you don't be a lineman. 100 pounds later, and she ends up being a lineman. But she's really good at it, and we're lucky to have her.
And Stephanie, what year is this for you?
My fourth year, I think.
Fourth year.
Yeah.
John?
Oh, Jesus. Coaching this team. So this coaching this team, I started in 2015. Towards the end of that season, I came on halfway through the season, and then became the head coach in 2016, and I've been here ever since. So I'm not sure how many years that is. My brain, I'm too old to think.
That's okay.
Numbers. I can count yards. How many yards we left on the field yesterday, but other than that, I can't count.
Well, I appreciate the three of you taking the time to talk with us here on the For the Fans Network and everything that with the Women's Football Alliance and the 2021 Road to Canton. I hope to see you all at the stadium behind me, July 23rd and 24th. Any last words of encouragement? You want to say hi to anybody, anything like that?
Hi, Mom.
It is, yeah.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there in the WFA.
Yes, a lot of those. Thank you very much, and we'll talk very soon.
Thanks.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Brian, for the opportunity.
She was about 4 when she told us, when I grow up, I'm going to be a football player.
Being on the field just makes me feel alive. I feel that's where I'm supposed to be.
But we have day jobs, and we only get a couple days a week, a few hours at a time, exclusively on football. Boston is obsessed with sports. Those fan bases, the vast majority of them have no idea that we exist.
Last year, we were undefeated, and we get to the championship game, and we freaking lose.
Second place, that's nothing.
Time to finish. First play, first hit, let them know. Today is going to be our legacy, ladies. Let's let the world know what Boston Renegades football is all about.
Now, if anyone has not seen Born to Play, I highly recommend it. This movie does an amazing job showcasing a team's dedication to play the game of football. You can find more info on Twitter at Born to Play Movie. So, Alex, we have two legendary Division I teams matching up this weekend in Boston. What can you tell me about this matchup?
Well, Brian, anytime the DC Divas and the Boston Renegades come together, it's a really interesting matchup, and this week is no exception. All time, the Boston Renegades lead the head-to-head series 9-5. They're on a 4-game winning streak against the DC Divas, and really I expect that streak to continue. Boston, their last time out, a 62-0 win over the Detroit Dark Angels. They looked really impressive in that week number 1 victory, but the DC Divas did a nice job as well against Baltimore in the Battle of the Beltway, a 38-0 victory over the Nighthawks in Baltimore. I expect there to be a ton of offense between these two teams. They both run the ball really well, and they pass the ball really well. For me, as I look at this, the key to this game this week is going to be the quarterback play between these two teams. These are both experienced, talented quarterbacks. Cahill for Boston out of Princeton, Congliati out of Penn State University for DC. They've played each other a lot. They know what to do. And when you look at Allison Cahill for the Boston Renegades, she is a awesome quarterback, the first female professional women's football player to reach 100 career victories as quarterback. And she knows how to spearhead this team. And really, these teams are going to be battling tooth and nail to try to come away with the win on Saturday. But I expect Boston to come out and do that because they've dominated this head-to-head series as of late. Last year, or in 2019, there were 3 games, and Boston swept all 3, winning by point margins of 5, 30, and 46. If DC wants to have a chance in this game, they're going to have to stop the attack because that's where the win will come if the DC Divas are able to upset the Boston Renegades on Saturday.
And one of the last losses that Boston had was back in 2018 to these DC Divas. In 2018, Boston only was able to win in their 3 games by a combined total of 4 points. Yet we look to 2019 when they won by 86 points in those 3-game series. So, I mean, are you expecting to see Boston increase that margin even more this season? Or do you think DC can bring them back down to where they had them in 2018?
Well, I think, again, there's a lot of growth that we've seen out of the DC Divas, and I think that playing fewer games, DC has 4 on their schedule, Boston has 5 upcoming. I think that familiarity will bring those points totals down. I mean, these two teams have played more than anybody since the Boston Renegades rebranded from the Boston Militia back in 2016. And I think, too, when you look at how these teams have played in the playoffs, Boston has that 3-1 series advantage in that regard. But even more so, it's just that comfortability that these teams have with each other, where it's going to be tough, really, to me, for one team to have an insurmountable lead head-to-head between these two.
This is going to be an exciting game, and you can watch it on For the Fans Network. Follow For the Fans HQ on Twitter and Instagram to find what channels to tune into. And remember to follow the Women's Football Alliance on all social media platforms. And we'll see you on the road to Canton next week.